Well, good day and welcome to the Lake Christian Museum. No, that's really my garage where I keep all my memories of the past. So, today I'm going to try and do 2 videos before I have to go to one of my many jobs to pay the bills and all that good stuff. I'm going to do a Bible reading. Unpack the Bible here, but before I do that, or I should say before I get into that, I'm going to mention that I'm going to do another video, and I'll probably be shorter than the last video I did on this. You may think this, like media history and culture and stuff is just totally disconnected. Well, it may seem disconnected because I'm maybe not able to connect the dots and say exactly what my vision is well, I was like, and I probably got different audiences for people who watch Drive Thru Bible versus some of the other content I put on the Lake Christian YouTube channel. But anyways, so I'm going to be doing some, I already did one on Twin Cities radio history. I'm going to do a little on the networks, the TV networks, history of the Twin Cities TV stations, because that's what I know the best. But media culture affects culture, and it's good to read the Bible, and I'm not saying you shouldn't, but if you read the Bible, what do you do with that information? Are you going to use it to try and change society, make the world a better place? Not to be fair, most of us, our money, our time, our connections don't allow us to do some kind of grand thing, but I at least ask you to think about it. How are you going to live your life when you're with your friends, family, co-workers, whatever? Are you going to be a Christ-like lover? Are you going to treat other people the way you would want to be treated? Is that going to affect the way you do your job? All these things I want you to think about, and that's part of being a resident in Lake Christian, is being a new creation. And there's a lot of bodies at the bottom of Lake Christian, and that's metaphorical, of course, because it symbolizes baptism. Some people say baptism is mandatory for salvation. Others say it's an outward sign of an inward change. I tend to believe that it is essential. However, I'm not going to argue that right now, but I'm just going to say that when you are a Christian, that you are called to be a citizen of heaven, and you're to be an ambassador on earth, which is your temporary home. And that's what the whole Lake Christian euphemism means. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do half the things I would like to do, but it's great to dream about. So the next video I do after I read Matthew chapter 13 will be related to media and TV, and a little history with a little commentary. So 13 is a little on the long side, but I will do my best to get through it, and we'll go from there. So again, I'm Brian Link. This is Lake Christian, and here is the Drive Thru Bible. First, read in depth every scripture. Fries with that. It's my answer to tulip. I know people who believe in tulip will vigorously defend it, but they do a lot of verse hopping, and I think when we read it in context, by the way, I read the English Standard Version, esv.org for more information. But so basically, I think when you read it, a full paragraph or more, it provides more context, and people are free to disagree, but I think it's important first get into the Bible, and then 2, live that life that Christ is trying to get you to live. So this is a pretty good one because it starts out with the parable of the sower, and I think we're all to help spread the seed. And we all may have different roles. Some of us will till the ground, some of us will water, etc. I have a friend of mine who's out at the Minnesota State Fair witnessing to people, and he's got, I think 4, maybe more converts, and maybe some other people interested. He doesn't share my belief when it comes to baptism being essential, but at least he's getting people on their Christian journey, and he's giving them information on how to get their own Bible, and hopefully they become true Bible believing Christians and hopefully get baptized. Also, before we read this, I do want to say, church-wise, I am a member of the Church of Christ. I have been at both International Church of Christ and Church of Christ locations. I may not agree with everything they say, but at least I feel they're trying to be a first century church, and they're trying to really understand the Bible, and maybe where you think and I think and where they think may all differ, but at least they're sincerely looking to try and be very scriptural. If they're not in your area or they're not for you, even though I disagree with the whole tulip thing, I think a good church, there are many non-denominational churches, but the problem is they can be really iffy. They can be really good or really bad. But Baptist churches, I don't think, if they're like super Calvinistic and very tulip oriented, I may not be as big of a fan, but at least they're going to be in the Bible and they're going to try. So if you're looking for a church, Church of Christ and International Church of Christ, try and check those out. Check out Ready to Harvest on YouTube. He goes through all the denominations and compares them and does some miscellaneous videos on those denominational type subjects and biblical related subjects. So, parable of the sower. This is Matthew 13. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat beside the sea, and great crowds gathered about him. Sorry, I saw a bag blowing. Squirrel. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat beside the sea, and great crowds gathered around him. So he got into a boat and sat down, and the whole crowd stood at the beach. And he told them many things in parables, saying, A sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, seeds fell along the path. The birds came and devoured them. Other seeds fell on rocky ground. They did not have much soil, and immediately sprang up, since they had no depth of soil. But when the sun arose, they were scorched, and since they had no root, they withered away. Other seeds fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them out. Other seeds fell on good soil and produced grain, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. Who has ears, let them hear. Jesus then explains the purpose of the parables. Then the disciples came, and this is Matthew 13:10. Then the disciples came and said to him, Why do you speak to them in parables? And he answered them, To you it has been given to know the secrets of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. For one who has more will be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. This is why I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. Indeed, in their case, the prophecy of Isaiah is fulfilled that says, You will indeed hear, but never understand. You will indeed see, but never perceive. For this people's heart has grown dull, and with their ears they can barely hear, and with their eyes they have closed, lest they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and turn, and I would heal them. So keep in mind, and this isn't Isaiah, but Jesus is quoting it. So if people open up their eyes and their ears and they start changing, Jesus will save everybody who wants to be saved. Anyways, going on, Matthew 13:16. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears they hear. For truly I say to you, many prophets and righteous people longed to see what you see and did not see it, and to hear what you hear and did not hear it. Now Jesus explains the parable of the sower. Hear then the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what has been sown in his heart. This is what was sown along the path. As for what was sown on rocky ground, this is one who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy, yet has no root in himself, but endures for a while, and then when tribulation or persecution arises on account of the word, immediately he falls away. As for what was sown among thorns, this is one who hears the word, but the cares of the world and the deceitfulness of riches choke out the word, and proves unfruitful. Has what was sown on good soil, this is the one who hears the word and understands it. He or she, indeed, bears fruit and yields, in one case 100-fold, in another case 60-fold, and in another case 30-fold. Matthew 13:24. He put another parable before them. The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while his men were sleeping, the enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. So when the plants came up and bore grain, the weeds appeared also. And the servants of the master of the house said to him, Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have weeds? He said to them, An enemy has done this. So the servants said to him, Then do you want us to go and gather them? But he said, No. Lest in gathering the weeds you uproot the wheat along with them. Let them both grow together until the harvest. And at harvest time I will tell the reapers, Gather the weeds first and bind them in bundles to be burned, and gather the wheat into my barn. Matthew 13:31. He put another parable before them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed that a man took and sowed in his field. It is a small of all seeds, but when it has grown, it is larger than all of the garden plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air can come and make its nest in its branches. He told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like leaven that a woman took and hid in 3 measures of flour till it was all leavened. So in Matthew 13:34, all these things Jesus said to the crowds in parables indeed. He said nothing to them without a parable. This was to fulfill what was spoken by the prophet. I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter what has been hidden since the foundation of the world. Parable of the weeds explained in Matthew 13:36. Then he left the crowds and went into the house, and his disciples came to him, saying, Explain to us the parable of the weeds in the field. He answered, The one who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed is the sons of the kingdom. The weeds are the sons of the evil one, and the enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are angels. Just as the weeds are gathered and burned with fire, so it will be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all causes of sin and all lawbreakers, and throw them into the fiery furnace. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears, let them hear. Now there's more. I just want to pause. There's a lot of stuff that people sometimes use when talking about like end times and theology. And I think that's important to discuss. But I think what you need to understand is Jesus is trying to unveil his message, and I think if you read way too much into him, it can be dangerous. I mean, I certainly do, but just take it with a grain of salt, maybe. I don't know if that's the best way of putting it, but